Hi guys, Victor from Tech Heads here. Before we get started today, I would like to announce once again that our Patreon is officially live, but this time with some extra features. When you sign up, you officially become a producer of the show. This means that you will get access to exclusive behind-the-scenes content such as our extensive show notes. On top of this, you will also have access to the episodes 4 days earlier than everybody else. If this sounds good to you, feel free to check it out at patreon.com/techheads.
3, 2,
on with the show.
1. So, here we go.
How you all feel tonight?
Okay, Tech Heads back again. Good morning. It's morning for me. Good afternoon to Anna. Good evening. Good whatever time of day it is. I'm Victor. That's Anna.
What's up?
What's up? And today we are talking about project planning, I guess, and mainly focusing on how you would build a full stack app, though. So this doesn't apply to like all sorts of projects you might be planning. But yeah, mostly focusing on a full stack application that you might want to build, but you just don't know how to even get started or know how to plan it. So, but before we get too deep into that stuff, we haven't talked in like a week and a half. How's it going? How was your week? And tell us the new toy you got.
Yeah, no, it's been pretty good. School is definitely taking up a chunk of my time, because I'm trying to juggle 2 projects right now. And right before we started recording this, I was working on one of the projects and a homework that I have due tomorrow. So it's been, same old, but honestly, I was actually looking at the calendar yesterday, and 5 weeks from yesterday, it will be graduation day. So it's like home stretch right now. I can see the light. Yeah, that's how I feel inside. It's it's what keeps me going, because there are days that I'm just like, there's so much to do, I don't even know where to start. But yeah, everything else is fine. And I did get something really fun this week, earlier in the week. So I think that, it set up my week pretty nicely, because I think I had mentioned it in a previous episode that I had ordered the M1 Max 16-inch MacBook. And that finally came after 3 weeks, because I ordered it on that Apple event day, just a few hours after, but it was taking forever. And luckily I finally got it installed. I've been setting up like my development environment and all that stuff, all the tools that I need. And yeah, I mean, it's been such a smooth transition. I think that's the really nice thing, because I am coming from a 2015 or 2016 15-inch MacBook Pro, and that's it was the last model before the one with the touch bar. So I expected to see a huge difference, and I mean, I think that what I noticed the most is the performance and how smooth navigation is. And I haven't really experienced any problems with the computer whatsoever. I mean, the screen is amazing. The speakers, they are just out of this world. Like, I have a Bluetooth speaker right next to me, but the laptop speakers are just they're good enough to where you could, you could have a party with your computer, and if you wanted to play music for a room full of people, you could. That's how loud they are.
That's insane.
Yeah, I know. I was really impressed. I didn't think that it was going to be that loud, but it's also the bass, so it's like some good sound quality. And yeah, I think what else? The keyboard is pretty nice, because I've always liked a low profile, because I've been using the Mac for so long. So I like low profile keys, and the keyboard feels really good. So yeah, I mean, it's awesome all around, and it's just been like a week, and I feel like I've had it for the longest time ever. So that's the cool thing, I guess, about how, despite all the I think the improvements that Apple makes with every iteration of these products, it's still very very comparable. It's like a compliment, I think, to like the previous version of that same product, or in this case the same laptop, that makes you feel that makes it feel very familiar when you do upgrade to a new one. So it's not like an entirely new thing. But obviously you do see, you know, the upgrades with like performance, screen, sound, keyboard, that kind of stuff. And I think it's awesome. So I think it's going to, the one thing I noticed was that as soon as I got it, I was like, oh, now I want to code even more. And I did. I built up my portfolio page this week in like 2 nights.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
Yeah, it looks so cool. I love it.
It was all in the new computer. And thank you for the referral on the tutorial there. I changed the color scheme, but I already put it on my LinkedIn page, on my latest resume. So
Well, tell us the address to it.
Oh yeah, sure. So it's you have to do HTTPS first because it's not a www site. So it's AUSEK.tech. It's my that's my custom domain. I mean, I might have an IO domain. I don't even know.
Oh, that looks so nice.
Thank you. Yeah,
Wow,
it was all
even
like
better.
I mean, I can't even take that much credit for it because obviously I, you know, used like a good template from that tutorial, which was React.js and Next. And it was very cool to learn, you know, like because I think Next is a framework built on top of React. That's what like my understanding of it is. But obviously, you know, I had to take a look at it. Like I had to get a good understanding of how everything, like the views and the components were built, so I could update it with like my content. And I still have like you know, tons of things that I want to add, like the more information about the podcast and like an about section for myself. But you know, I already have my a bunch of my social links on there and the like some recent projects that I wanted to share. So yeah, that was pretty cool. I built it all in the new computer after I got everything installed. So it was
congratulations.
Pretty neat.
I love it.
Thanks. Thanks. Yeah, it was very cool to build something that I've been talking about for so long, you know, because I had a crappy like static HTML page or whatever, and it had been under construction for like a year. So I was like, no, I just gotta build something. It's not gonna take that long, so might as well just do it.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like you had a whole team work on it, so congratulations.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah. Well, I got a new toy. I got the MX Master 3 mouse. I love it so much. Thank you for that recommendation. I decided to get one because I was long overdue for it. The scrolly wheel is amazing. I love it so much. It's like nice and heavy, and it can scroll really fast, and I like that you could just like spin it and then keep it spinning. Yeah, I love that too. Feels so good. I love it. I love working with it too. Right. Yeah, I didn't get a new MacBook, but you know, maybe one day.
I don't know. I mean, honestly, I feel like just switching up to like upgrading to, you know, an ancillary like that, it can really improve like the workflow. I mean, I already used because I had the MX Master keyboard, right, that I got earlier in the year, and this is essentially like the mouse that goes with that keyboard. Yeah. So you can pair like 3 different devices. So right now I have 3 different devices that I'm using because eventually this laptop, my old laptop, not the one that I just got, I'm gonna factory reset it, and I'm gonna give it to my sister because she's wanted you know, a computer for a while, and I was like, yeah, you can take mine. But yeah, I mean, you know, I've been using the mouse I think for a few weeks now. And yeah, like you said, I use it for work, for school, and I tried like even holding one of the old Logitechs that I had because I've always liked the Logitech mouse. This one, it just feels so nice, and how it's perfectly shaped for a hand.
Yes, I love it. Right. I like the side scrolly thing too. This thing I mean, I'm excited to edit this episode with it because I haven't edited yet with this, but it's so nice scrolling laterally and looking at all the audio and stuff. It feels so good. Or like even in Excel, it's just so nice to move with that. Yeah, I love it. So good recommendation. I'm
glad you like it.
Yeah. So I think we should get started with project planning.
Let's do it.
Because it's a pretty huge topic. Yeah, so this week we wanted to take a step outside of actual coding and give you sort of a bird's eye view of a full stack web app, because that's always fascinated me. Like, I love watching people go over how they built something, and I don't know, just it makes it seem more attainable and possible, I think, because sometimes when you just think about building something, it's so stressful because you're like, where do I even start? I don't even know like where to begin. I don't know what I even need to think about before I build this. So we're just going to go over what it takes to plan the development of a full stack app. And while we may be breezing over most of these topics, it may even make them seem insignificant, they are huge steps and very well could have their own dedicated episode. So keep that in mind. And this process isn't the exact same for every developer in the world, obviously, but the fundamentals are usually there. So feel free to use this, and I'll have the show notes with most of these. But if you want the full in-depth description of everything step by step, you can check us out on Patreon and check out those show notes, because they will all be in there. Woo. So check that out. As well, you'll get the episode 4 days early, so that's something to consider too, and plenty more. But let's just get going. So I kind of broke these up into two main sections. So there's the pre-planning, and then there's like the for real planning. So let's look at the pre-planning first. So and like I said, this isn't the same for everybody, but this is just kind of what Ann and I came to a general consensus on. So one of the first things you should do is figure out like what the goal is. So like, what are you trying to help others do with your app? That's something really important to consider, because if it's like, if you're building a portfolio site, for instance, like your goal is to share your skills with the world and show like what you're able to do with your app, and then also maybe connect with people. And sorry, I don't know if you heard that. My dog has a button that he presses to go outside, and it says pee pee poo poo.
I heard something, but it wasn't pee pee poo poo. Oh my god.
Oh, great timing. He's gonna have to hold it, unfortunately. Oh, he's not happy. Okay. Another thing to consider is who you're targeting. So, maybe with the portfolio site, you're targeting potential employers maybe, or companies, or, people you want to partner with. So all that is to consider. Let's see. Another thing to think about is what the core feature is going to be. So like with YouTube, you might say that the core feature is the video player, because that's where all the magic kind of happens on the website. And then after you kind of have all that started, I think you might get to the point where it's time to choose a stack. And this depends on a ton of different things. It depends on the scope of the project, your skill set probably, because you might typically pick technologies that you're more familiar with, but there's also the possibility that you choose a particular framework because you actually want to learn more about it by using it. So, you might want to try something new out with the project. So this might be the opportunity. It just depends on that sort of thing. Choosing a stack also, it depends on like the time to market. If it's a full blown sort of app and you want to get it going as soon as possible, you might not choose the most complicated stack. And then there's also scalability. So you don't want to get to a roadblock further down the road where you can't build anymore, or it's just the bigger you build it, the worse it gets. So lots of things to consider with scalability. And I know Anna has a lot more experience with like group projects with school and everything. So she has personally done all of this, I'm sure. So yeah, what do you usually do in the pre-planning stage when you're in a group setting? Like, do you guys consider all of those things, or did I miss any? Or
no, I think you listed out even more things that you'll probably see like in a real world scenario, because ultimately I think there was a class that I took earlier this year. It was Intro to Software Engineering. It was like a term long project, and that's how it started. Like there was a lot of planning in the beginning, and I even reached out to the professor at the time and I was like, oh, should we be coding? Because I feel like we're going to get behind. And she said, no, you have to spend that time, planning. And we were learning agile. So like we had to go through building, UML diagrams and defining the user stories, like creating that whole roadmap for the project before getting into, I think, like sprint 1, and that, like getting into the code sprints. And then that's where we actually, started setting up the app and coding and everything. But
well, what's a sprint, by the way, before we get too far away from that?
So a sprint usually lasts a few weeks, and that's like so if we're talking about like agile, that is one of the phases of the process of the software development process, software development lifecycle process, where you actually start to code out those user stories that were defined. So those are like elements of the project that you have to translate from just user stories into code. And when you have, a big team, then each person is going to be assigned, a couple of those, and they're going to knock those out. So during the sprint, the code sprints, like you're just focusing on the code because the planning has already defined what it is that you're supposed to be working on. So that's why Agile, is very efficient, and a lot of companies still use it, is because it keeps everything very organized. But you do spend quite a bit of time in the project, planning phase and design. But that's for a very good reason, because I feel like even with the very clear steps that we were supposed to follow in that class, for instance, because we were still going through the agile cycle the first time, all of us students in that group, it was challenging because we had to learn how to really follow that. And but then obviously, there were times where we had to like go back and answer some questions that were left unanswered in the beginning. So that's why, it's really good practice to iron out as much as you can in the beginning, because then you have a very clear map for that, for that project for the rest of the cycle, for that first iteration of the application. So yeah, it's best to just like plan as much as possible, get everything out of the way that you can possibly think that would go wrong, and then like during the code sprints, you're sure that you're working on what you're supposed to, and it's not going to be like ambiguous tasks, and features for the app. So
right. Yeah, and with that, that's a great transition. We can get into the for real planning of an app, which includes a lot of what you just mentioned. So with the very beginning of the real planning, as we're going to be calling it, this is a crucial part, because this includes sandboxing, which is where you would list out every single feature that you want your app to have, and you can also refer to them as backlog items or whatever, but this is so important to like put into consideration beforehand, because if you're towards the end of 1.0 version of your app or whatever, and you missed all these different features that would have been better to implement beforehand, and maybe even have some sort of components laid out beforehand, it could save you so much time and such a headache, because then you don't have to refactor so-and-so like code or whatever. It just it's really, really important to put that as many different features that you plan on having, like, just have those in mind beforehand. It'll save you a lot of time. And to help think of some features, some people like to identify pain points, which are problems that the app is supposed to solve. So with Netflix, as an example, Netflix removed the pain of traditional movie rentals. So obviously with Netflix, like, it's all streaming and online, like that is a huge problem that they solve. That's why it's so popular. And some features may even have sub-features. So for example, like a search bar may have the ability to search by name, tag, or color. Those are all sub-features. So it's always just important to have those in mind before you get started. Then it lays a great, clear roadmap ahead.
Right.
And there's there's a couple different ways to organize these two. You can prioritize them, so just list them in one single column maybe and put the most important at the top, and then just, the ones at the bottom are maybe less important. Personally, I like to have a few different columns with my workflow. The backlog items is what I'm talking about. You might have a to-do column, which is just maybe the leftmost. And then you could do an in-progress column to show to yourself and to others like what is being worked on currently. QA column, or quality assurance column, Quabity Ashwitz column. And this is where it's just ready for testing, so people can run tests on it, see what's breaking, what needs to be worked on, and then if it does need work, it can go back to in progress and have somebody actually fix that bug or whatever, and then complete it so you can feel good about what you've actually worked on.
Right.
Yeah. What were you just gonna say that I rudely interrupted?
No. I was just gonna point out, because you had I think you made a very good point, is that with listing out, with thinking of core features of an app, and as you start to implement them, you see other things creeping by, other decisions to be made about sub features, and the best way that you can obviously, I think, especially if you have a project manager, the best thing that the project manager can do is have that foresight, of anticipating what other features will come from those crucial features that are detrimental, to the success of the project. If you don't implement it. But obviously it is, part of the team to ask those questions too. So that's why I think, I 100% agree with you. And, keeping an organization, like you mentioned, in terms of having perhaps a platform or, a product that allows the project manager to keep everything organized in tasks. That's just very, very good practice, and something that you're definitely going to see out on the field. And it's good, to even use it if you're building your own little project by yourself, and just having that, experience using. I like Trello. I've been using Trello for a little while, but there are so many other ones out there, Jira or Jira or whatever it is that
Jira.
It's called. Jira, yeah. And that's something that just allows everyone in your team, when you do get out on the field, to be in sync in terms of the status of of all the features that need to be worked on, and tasks pertaining to the project. Organization is key, I guess, for delivering a successful project.
Yeah, there's also GitHub Projects, which has a Trello sort of flow to it with the columns and whatnot. So that's also out there in case you want to stick to GitHub and keep it all kind of in one place. I use Todoist, which I mentioned in a previous episode, with probably the episode where we talked about the Bear app. Todoist is really nice for that too. So yeah, whatever you are comfortable with, it's all up to you. But it's just the idea of keeping organized with your features and everything that you plan on building.
Yeah.
So, the next stage would be, usually you would start with the back end. Some people start with the front end and then do the back end, but there's just different types of people out there. I would personally start with the back end and then make it work with the front end. People can argue about this forever and ever. There's no one single way to do it, but for this example, we're just gonna start with the back end. It's also, it's nice to get the harder stuff out of the way too, I think. So
yeah, right.
Yeah, one of the first things you would do with back end would be database modeling / schemas, this sort of setup. So this includes setting up the structure of a database that you plan on using in the most logical way possible. So, for example, if you plan on having users, you can plan to have, first name, last name, email, or you might want to do just name, email, password. It depends on the situation or the app. And some different types of modeling that you might use for the database modeling. You could do relational, which is the most common and probably the one you're going to use. Hierarchical, or even network modeling. these are all super important, but we do have to like move on. I want to talk about these for so long, but there's so much to go over. So we'll definitely do like dedicated episodes on a lot of these, I promise. So, and some stuff to consider for picking the best database though, would be operation costs, performance, scalability, security. And, this is, you might say this is the heart of your application. So it is really important that you get it right beforehand, because it could be an absolute B word to redo. And, it's a whole mess. But
it can derail a project. Yeah. So.
Yeah, exactly. That's why the back end boys, they make the real money. So
yeah, that's for sure.
Another really important step is to consider the API endpoints that you're going to be having. So a couple of key questions that you might want to ask yourself in this section would be, what technologies are you planning to integrate with the API? How many endpoints will be public or protected? And which product or service do you want the user to work with? So these are all really important things to consider with the API endpoints. He keeps pressing the pee pee poo poo button.
Oh boy, he's so cute.
Sorry, let me put him to bed real quick. I'm so sorry.
No, that's okay.
Okay. Pee pee poo poo back. Endpoint planning is so important during the back-end planning process here. APIs work on requests and responses, so the overall performance of your app actually depends on how effective the communication points are. So, and speaking of that sort of stuff, you also have to consider user authentication. So this is essentially responsible for figuring out who each individual user of the app is, as well as handling security. And you could do this a number of different ways. There's cookies, tokens, OAuth, OpenID. I mean, we could go on and on and on about user authentication as well. But, and, it's not a creepy way to figure out who each user of the app is, but, it's to identify who they are if, they want their curated app experience to be good. If it's just, some random anonymous person, maybe the app won't work as well. So it just depends on the user case also, because some apps, it's just a simple CRUD app maybe that you don't need to log in or anything. So that's a totally different story. But, if you plan on having users, then, you need to use user authentication so the app can figure out who the person is.
Right. Yeah. And also to protect that information, because if the user is interacting, with the app, then there is, there's the obvious kind of data that would be displayed or, on the app about that user itself. But then there's also the beneath the surface kind of information about, their connection and like their interaction with, that service. So you want to make sure that it's secure, just because that it's not just the best practice, it's like the ethical practice,
Yeah, that's and we're not raising no unethical developers around here, so
no
yeah, another crucial step here with the back end is to test. You need to find bugs as early as possible, because it is so embarrassing when the users find them. So find them so they don't have to experience them. Some great backend testing tools are Postman, Data Factory, Toad, PHP MyAdmin. I mean, there's quite a few out there, but yeah, please test everything.
Right. I was watching a tutorial recently about a self-taught developer, and that's something that I definitely want to dig a bit deeper into once I'm done with school, is test-driven development, because I feel like that is the right approach, to when you're building things, instead of just kind of like crossing your fingers, setting up all the edge cases you can think of and hoping for the best. I think that if you do, TDD, then it means that you're already like preparing for that. You're being way more proactive instead of being reactive to any bugs that you see after the testing goes, after the testing is done. So yeah, I think, that's a good approach. I would recommend, like looking into that as well, because I'm not that familiar, but definitely something that I want to look, closely into for future projects when I build it myself.
Yeah, same. I kind of want to get a little more familiar with technical testing like that, and yeah,
Writing
it's
your
it's
own test cases.
yeah. I mean, there are people who are just QA engineers, and all they do is test things. Like, it's a whole crazy deep field. So yeah, we could do an episode on QA as well.
Yep.
But moving on, if you've done all of the above steps, you're ready to move on to the front end, which some people have the most fun with, but this one also takes way more time typically.
Wow. Yep.
So let's get into front end. So one of the more important things to think about is the elements and components of your app. So these components are, in case you don't know, they're custom reusable elements. So I mean, we love to write code and stuff, but we also love reusing code whenever possible so we can save time. So definitely consider beforehand every single component and subcomponent that you want in your app, just so you have them to grab whenever you need them. Right. And this is great planning, just because when you actually get down into the coding, you don't have to think like, oh, well, what do I need now because I have this. Like, you've already written all of them down, and you can just refer to your little Trello board or GitHub projects or whatever. So it's really nice workflow. And then another thing to consider is, oh my God, my dog is chewing on my cable. Hey.
No, Pablo.
Oh, you crazy boy. Okay. Oh, he wasn't chewing.
The dogs
on it.
are going crazy today because Augie's already over here too. You got away, buddy. Sorry. No pee pee poo poo button for you.
Oh man, bad boy. Okay, so another thing to consider is the design of your app, and a great way to do a quick mock-up, because you don't want to waste your time like designing, demo front end with HTML, CSS, JavaScript, that could be a lot of time wasted if you're not happy with the end result initially. So you could do a mock-up on something like Figma, and this helps you have a layout of where each component will go on a page as well. So it's just great to have that mentally to refer to, and then maybe even off to the side somewhere printed out. You could also just draw pictures on a piece of paper just to figure out the layout. So it's really all up to you. It depends on how intricate and advanced this project is gonna be. And this is also the time where you would consider maybe finding some good fonts, a great color scheme. Yeah, I mean, some people love this phase. I'm personally not like in love with the front end process. It's just kind of like, okay, well, I have to do this. I'll make it sort of pretty, whatever. But yeah, some people, really let the artist out in them during this process. So really important. And once you've done all that, I mean, test once again. You got to test the front end too, not just the back end. But in this process too, it might be at the stage where you can actually share with other people to see what they think of the app as well. And if they're close friends, let them find the bugs. Who cares? Not that embarrassing. And they'll even give you feedback on the design and the overall vibe of the app. So yeah, it's great to have close people demo the app and see what they think. You could also use different tools and try different components out for a percentage of the users. So you might, you might have a different login portal for half the users, and then maybe totally different login portal for the other half. So it's a great time to just test out all those things and see what works best and has a better bounce rate or click rate or whatever. So this is the time to do that. What do you think of doing front end stuff? I think your last project you stuck to the front end, right?
Yeah, so I did. Actually, there's a full stack one that we're working on right now, which is the CERN stack: SQL, Express Node, and React. And I was because we're down to about 4 weeks until we have to present it. I was I'll just, I'll take care of essentially building out the components and views, and then you guys are gonna have to help out with the querying the database and building the charting, that we already picked like a library for, a JavaScript library for. So last Sunday, sadly, before I got my new computer, no, that's okay. My old one did just fine. I spent like, I think 6 hours just building out all of the routes, all of the components, all of the views for the app. So it took way longer than I thought, but it's probably because I was also like rusty with, React. But it was a very good refresher, and I felt like I got everything under control, and it was very well organized. So we already like set up all the endpoints that we need. If we have to add any more, it should be super easy, like a simple copy and paste to like in adding like another link, a link tag, because the components are already built. So that's where, the code reusability comes in, because why would you, have to like code everything from scratch all over again if you already thought about it in the beginning? So you already have that component that will take care of it. So that's where like, the reusability of the code, the scalability comes in. It really does pay off to think about those things in the beginning, because then if we have to add like a brand new page right now, it should take all of a minute to be able to create a new, a brand new endpoint. So it's I don't mind, I guess, setting up the front end so much. I think when I have to get into like styling with CSS, that's where I just want to pull my hair out, because I'd rather just use maybe like a React Bootstrap and make it look, nice. But I feel like I don't have like the creativity to like think of other like box shadows and I don't know, like transit and like hover colors, all that stuff, so it's those little things, but it definitely comes to you. I think that it's something that you can learn to improve. I've personally been trying to, and I'm gonna get some good practice with this project. And even this past week when I was building my portfolio page. So it's all about just like doing it. And then obviously, like there will be kind of like pain points and areas that you're not too fond of. But that's why you can choose if you want to be front end or back end. So yeah, it's it definitely doesn't mind me that much. But, I think it's kind of like pick your poison. It really depends on the person.
Right. Yeah, so this list may be super stressful to even think about, and getting all of this together may be a bit time consuming, but trust us, it is so worth it, because it'll save you so much time in the long run. It's also great because each step is pretty much self-contained, so you won't have to think too much about how it will work with something else, because odds are that you already established that in your planning. So all you have to think about is coding, and then you got your project, probably the hardest part started. I mean, the idea, the front end, the back end, like all that stuff. And feel free to delegate out to other people. You don't have to be working alone unless you want to. So yeah, right. That's how we would, start a project and how we would plan it. So feel free to use this. I hope it's very useful and something you can refer back to like a couple times until you create your own workflow. But this is just something that we found to be great way to get everything organized. So, moving on though, we have some crazy news. I found 2 crazy newses actually. And yes, I just said newses. I don't know why. So this new Xbox. So
oh, right.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, so Gucci and Xbox partnered up for some reason.
Oh boy. Okay, no, I hadn't heard about that. I just had heard about a new Xbox.
So this is officially a partnership, Gucci and Xbox. They decided to make a $10,000 Gucci Xbox. Let me show you actually.
Oh gosh. Oh my God, that looks awful.
It's $10,000. There is only 100 of them. And it comes with 2 controllers and a suitcase of some kind. So, yeah, if you've got $10,000 lying around, I mean, go for it. Oh, you know what? This is a great deal. It comes with Xbox Game Pass Unlimited. So that itself is worth it, maybe. Who knows?
I was gonna say, if you have 10K lying around and a little bit of bad taste, yeah, go for it because the color is just so. I mean, it's so boring. It just has the trademark Gucci print all over it. Like
yeah, pretty ugly.
Nah.
But if you're a Patreon listener and you're listening to this episode the day of release, it's out right now. So
Ooh.
I know you Patreon people. I know you have tons of money laying around since you can afford a Patreon. Yeah, just go ahead and get one. Who cares? You'll make your money back if you resell it. And then the second little article I found. So you can actually go to AMC and use Bitcoin to pay for your movie ticket now.
Already?
Yeah. I think you have to do it within the app maybe, and you have to use PayPal to do it. But yeah, you could use Ethereum, Bitcoin, Litecoin to pay for your movie ticket now, which is pretty cool coming from,
I have some Litecoin. I might take myself out to the movie.
There you go. I know. Pretty interesting, but yeah, I mean, it's funny, like, the meme stock of all meme stocks getting into this. I think it's just, poetic. I love it.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's interesting.
It just shows, crypto is taking the world by storm.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going anywhere. And, was it last week or I don't know when we were talking about it, but Bitcoin reached a new all-time high this past week, wasn't it? Like 67, 68K?
It got up to 69, I think.
Oh, did it? Oh, man.
Let's do a quick number crunch on that.
I think Plan B, who's like a guy that is, I guess, a Bitcoin connoisseur or whatever, and he's come out numerous times talking about how he thought the performance of the coin was going to go, price wise and things like that.
Uh-huh.
He was predicting that it would reach 100,000.
It reached 69,000 flat.
Oh wow!
Yeah, as the ATH. So pretty cool. Congratulations, Bitcoin.
I know. Yeah, keep on going up.
Keep on going. I'm okay with it.
Yeah,
also,
same.
Ethereum was doing so well. I'm like,
it was.
I'm happy about it. Let's put it that way. I'm stoked.
Yeah.
Oh, my recommendation. So this is so funny that you brought it up at the very beginning of the episode, and now I know how you're gonna feel about it. So I found this is exclusively for new MacBook users, which I don't have, but it's still for those people. It's called ClearBit, and it helps you get rid of the notch on your screen because it'll put a black bar on top of whatever's going on, and then just make it all uniform and even. Mm-hmm. And you can also like round the edges to make it look, nice all around the edges. Because, on the 2015, 2016 MacBook that I have, it's just straight corners. And sometimes I do wish I could round it a little bit and make it look cool, but I don't have to deal with a notch. So I don't know how. You said you don't mind it at all, though. You think it's fine. No. But, for the people who hate it, clearbit.com, check it out. What were you going to say?
No, I was going to say that, it's, I figured that they would be releasing, these third-party apps to kind of accommodate some of the backlash with the notch, but it's really not that bad, honestly.
And I don't mind it on the iPhone like that.
Yeah, same. I have it on my...
I think it's fine. I don't even notice it.
I have an iPhone Notch Pro and now a MacBook Notch Pro or Mac Notch Pro. I forgot what they named it. I read it the other day. Yeah, I forgot. I think it was like Mac Notch Pro or something that I read somewhere, and I was like, oh god, okay, get over it, because a whole bunch of these people are still gonna buy it, Yeah. So it's like, And anyway, I've been using the laptop itself, just because the screen, the XDR display is just out of this world, amazing. And I do, though, however, like, having a bigger screen. So I currently have a 3-year-old HP 34-inch LCD screen right now that I plug my laptop into. But I am looking to see if I'm going to be like upgrading early next year to an ultra wide curved monitor. So I'm shopping around, and I'll definitely take suggestions because I like having the 34 inches. So I probably won't downgrade, but yeah, that's those are my thoughts on the notch. Now, as far as recommendation goes, so because we're getting close to Christmas, we started to get into that mindset of buying Christmas gifts and all that stuff. There is something, this is totally random, not really techie, but because I admire Japanese culture so much, and I love watching YouTube videos about like sushi shops and ramen shops and all this stuff. I just think it's so cool. I have been wanting, it's sort of like a plug, maybe I'll get this for Christmas if someone from my family listens to the episode. But I've been wanting one of those like Japanese super sharp knives for the longest time. And I think I was even on Wired earlier today, and one of those was one of the knives. And they tend to be a little expensive, but they look so nice. Like this one that I found is called Suzuki Ya Santobu. It's
sent it over.
It's so nice. And it's a finished blue steel with walnut handle. So it's like such a nice, it's like a piece of art, here I'm gonna paste it. I pasted on the chat for the thing, our call.
I see.
But yeah, I love it. It's so nice and clean. And yeah, we did just get like a new kitchen set, like a knife set rather for the kitchen. But that one, it just looks like, I don't know. I think that's another goal that I have for next year is get a little more creative in the kitchen, because I want to stop eating out as much. And I feel like I haven't been as happy with the takeout that I've gotten lately. I don't know if it's like the restaurant quality down, here, like where we live has gone down a bit, or if it's just me kind of getting a little tired of, the takeout. So I think I want to focus a little bit more on cooking at home and getting creative. So this, would be like, at least that's how I see that I actually get used to trying new things, is if I have like a new tool that I have to use. So like, the new MacBook, and now I want to code more, and a new knife, so it's just like a little incentive.
Yeah. I just got but at my last birthday, I got a really nice cooking knife from Dylan, and that really did exactly what you just said. It got me cooking so much more. Just a knife, like a good, clean, nice, just standalone, cool knife. And I like it just is so comfortable in my hands, and it chops so well. And I'm just always so excited to, chop up my parsley or cilantro or whatever the heck. And it, like you said, it does get you really stoked to actually get into that mode of cooking. Exactly. Also I got a cookbook as an early birthday present, and that was really great, just expanding my repertoire of things that I like to make. So yeah, if you're trying to get a little more creative in the kitchen, maybe get another cookbook if you don't already have a nice one. Like just get another one and go through it, see what you want to make, or even like remix it and do your own thing. That's what I love doing. So yeah. Watch
Binging with Babish.
That too, exactly.
There are a lot of.
I love him and Joshua Weissman.
Oh, I think I've watched him too. Yeah. Actually, last year I think my sister gave us a new a cooking book with like the foods from Harry Potter, which I definitely want to try out because that sounds so fun, and I know that some of it can take, quite a bit of work, might be like a lot of ingredients and all of it, but I could make it fun because like I said, I've just been so bored with like the restaurant scene around here, and I'm like, I think I'm just getting to a point where like my palate, needs a refresher. Like I need to try something new. And perhaps like, cooking at home will also be healthier because you can control literally everything that goes into your food. And a couple weeks ago, we actually, right after we moved into this apartment, we decided to try out HelloFresh, and shout out to them. It was very cool. But Yeah, it was, something new to try out. We just like didn't really develop a habit for it. It was the food was good. Nothing really groundbreaking, but I think that I have to, if I get a little more involved and like if I do get, a cool knife like that, then I think I'll get a little more creative and excited to look into recipes, because I want to be in like tip-top shape physically, mentally for next year, because there's just so much I want to do now that I'm going to have like a newfound freedom of school, so I want to stay as busy as possible, but doing fun things because I think I deserve it. I want to work on fun things rather than just obligations.
Yeah, you do. No doubt. Yeah. Stay busy. And and just enjoy the fact that you won't have homework anymore. Holy crap!
Yeah,
I still have like homework nightmares to this day. I know I was saying like a previous episode, I'm like, man, I kind of wish I had homework, but I thought about it. I don't really wish I had homework anymore. It's something I seriously like. Just it comes to mind every once in a while, and I'm like, oh my god, it's due tomorrow. I don't even know what's due tomorrow. Ah!
Yeah, right. Yeah, the senioritis is definitely like hitting me really hard, but now I only have a couple weeks to go, so I really can't screw it up. But yeah, we'll see a couple more weeks, and then it will be like starting fresh in 2022. So I'm pretty pumped for that.
Yeah. Do you have like a countdown timer or anything like that? Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't. Well, actually, I made one in Python like a couple of weeks ago. So like you just have to run it on the command line, So you enter like the. I should probably just like hard coded the dates because I know what the graduation date is. But I also like just went on Google and created one of those countdown clocks, and I think obviously like yesterday when I looked. It was exactly 5 weeks. So what is that? 35 days? Something like that. Yeah. And now like 34 hours and change, or 35 days and change. But it's, I do check it like at least once or twice a week just to remind myself it's almost over.
Yeah, exactly. That's so cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, with that being said, thank you guys very much if you made it this far. We appreciate you listening every single week and just enjoyed doing this for you guys. So thank you for listening. Don't forget.
Thank you for the support.
Thank you for the support on Patreon. Thank you for just listening. That's also very supportive. If you are interested in the Patreon, it's linked below. If you're not, it's still linked below. There's nothing you can do about that. It's still going to be there. I think it's only like $5 and you get early episodes and extra show notes and content. So if you're considering it, by all means do it, but don't feel obligated at all. It's just, it's just nice. It'll go towards gear and editing and just increasing the quality overall and upgrading things for us. So yeah, that's what that's for. We also have the email, so you can email us. But if you are on Patreon, you can talk to us directly on Patreon, which is pretty cool. So consider that too if you want. We're also on Twitter. Tech Heads Pod, I believe, is the Twitter and the email. So at Gmail, in case you were wondering. And we're excited to just be doing this. So thank you for listening, and we will see you guys in another week. Peace out. Oh, I'm not sharing the crowd anymore. Well, just pretend the crowd is there. So
woo! The wave.
3,000 mile wave.
I know, right?
All right. Peace out. Bye.